marketplace. You've got to start thinking differently about how you actually approach your audiences. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, I put up an ebook, I stick it on the Waterson website, job done. But it's also about how you promote that book. And lots of books, and certainly in America, are being promoted through viral marketing, Twitter, that sort of side of things. Then its next thing is basically about sort of the online experience. So bear in mind this is a web browser, I can start to do things. Really good idea basically sort of putting in video clips. Really good idea about putting talking books. There's a really, if you actually download this one, I do get one of these things in, well, you'll probably get them around about July, August, maybe September now, because they're all sold out in America. But download the Toy Story app and play with that. That's quite an interesting app in terms of being able to look at what it could look like on this particular platform. One thing you've got to bear in mind though is don't let the file sizes get too big. If you've got a 110 megabyte file and you're trying to load it over 3G, the cost of the book will pale into insignificance to the data charges you'll get from Vodafone for actually downloading the book itself. So think very carefully about file size. Price the book online differently from pricing the book in print. A lot of your supply chain logistics costs are going to disappear when you produce ebooks. Think about the way music has gone basically in terms of the iTunes experience. People buy a single track for 78 pence rather than actually buying a whole album. And I think this is the way that the sort of market's going to go in terms of the actual sort of book market as well. It's all going to be a quite different publishing experience. In the States right now, I know several publishers who are bringing brand new books from brand new authors that have never been published in print to market for $199. And the idea is that at $199 they can get a following. And once the following builds up and they can measure the downloads, they can then decide whether they want to go to print for the mass marketplace. Bear in mind, the print marketplace is still $43 billion in terms of size just for books. So ebooks have got a long way to go. But think about it as a marketing experience to start with. There's another publisher I know basically in Holland that's bringing basically to new authors to print, to ebooks, and you get the first 100 downloads for nothing. But you've actually got to go onto their blogging website and say what you thought about the author and the book. There's a little clip on the author as well. The next 100 downloads cost 10 cents. The next 100 on top of that, €0.50, and so on. Quite different ways of pricing and modelling books themselves. For every new author that goes into print, you know there are 10, 20, 30, 40 authors turned away. So maybe you now start to think about the whole experience quite differently. You're bringing basically the authors into the ebook world first, pricing their products basically to say, here it is, and then effectively establish a readership based on that sort of approach to the marketplace. Okay, distributing books. This is going to be the next massive saving, basically, for the ebook world. The first thing you really, really need to understand is the e-publishing world, the e-publishing space will disintermediate this marketplace. This will go exactly the same way, I believe, as the music marketplace. And the publishers basically that, sort of take note of that and behave differently now will reap the rewards further down the marketplace. The first thing that you need to understand as publishers is the type of technology that sadly companies like us are actually also being approached heavily by authors. People who've not given away their digital rights and are looking to effectively have them essentially go online. This is also going to help, unfortunately, disintermediate the marketplace. Word for the authors out there, don't think that you can come along and just get what the book is online in terms of the price. It doesn't work that way. So you guys are going to have to think differently as well. So I managed to get through Waterstones. My last blockbuster went at $14.99 in hardback. Well, it isn't going to be that way basically in the ebook world either. So authors and publishers, actually there's a very strong bond. Don't be rushed into breaking that too quickly, because both of you can win together. but it is going to change, and it's going to change over the next 12 to 18 months. Distribution in the ebook world. The old print publishing supply chain is broken. ECW Press is a really good example there, here somewhere, and they basically now be able to get from producing an ebook, they will actually be able to get that onto the storefront within 48 hours. That's an ebook. And if you're into magazine publishing, the current supply chain basically won't work for you either. E-magazines will be the next thing that comes over the horizon, particularly with books like this kicking around, where you can actually sort of change it quite nicely into that format. So you've got a magazine format you can actually sort of go with. And what you'll find basically is e-magazines will be the next. Well, there's no point basically producing a magazine on a Thursday night and then waiting 4 weeks for it to get to the bookstore. You're just not going to make any money. So publishers need to effectively get hold of their supply chain, because it's all about being able to publish in minutes, not days, weeks, and months. Time to storefront is going to be a crucial issue in being able to make as much money as you can out of the process. You also need to work with partners basically who know what they're doing in the e-publishing space. People like Sony and the Sony bookstore. You know, these guys basically really do understand, as Omar said right at the very beginning, of how to actually sort of get content out to the marketplace. People like Bbook, Pindar are here, BCL New Media. These guys are basically putting a completely new paradigm into the marketplace in terms of ebooks, not print. Print will be stated separately by a lot of the partners. It's all going to be about how you actually get your e-content out to your storefront very quickly. There's also another company which I like a lot called Enhanced Editions. So they're sort of pushing the boundaries basically of interactive books, things like Bunny Monroe and so on. What we're moving towards, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call cloud-based e-publishing.